Ethiopia is hosting the third Ígad Media Awards today and tomorrow at the Skylight Hotel in Addis Ababa, focusing on climate action storytelling. The event, held under the theme Storytelling for Climate Action, aims to recognize media professionals highlighting community responses and solutions to climate challenges in the Horn of Africa. It includes an award ceremony and a knowledge share fair to promote peer learning and collaboration. A 21-member jury from Ígad countries will oversee the selection process. Hello and welcome. I, Gamachisa Mandida from POA English, and Theodros Habenom from POA Arabic will bring you the events of the third Ígad Media Awards as they happen at the Skylight Hotel in Addis Ababa. Stay with us.
أهلا ومرحبا بكم أعزائي المشاهدين. اليوم توزيع حفل إثيوبي تستضيفه في إثيوبيا، وهو مجموعة هيئة الإيغاد. هذا الحدث الذي ينعقد تحت شعار رواية القصص من أجل العمل المناخي إلى تكريم المهنيين الإعلاميين الذين يسلطون الضوء على استجابات المجتمع وحلوله لتحديات المناخ في القرن الأفريقي. ويشمل حفل توزيع الجوائز ومعرضا لتبادل المعرفة لتعزيز التعليم بين الأقران والتعامل. ستشرف لجنة التحكيم مكونة من 21 عضوا في دولة الإيغاد على عملية الاختيار، ويعتبر هذا الإصدار استمرارا لريادة إثيوبيا في التعاون الإقليمي بدعم من الشركاء الأفارقة بلس أوف أفريكا، نبض إفريقيا، وإكزيت بانك. سنوافيكم بأبرز الأحداث والفعاليات. سأكون معكم أنا تدروس حبنوم من قناة POA عربي نبض إفريقيا القسم العربي، ومعي أيضا جميتشس من قناة POA عربي القسم الإنجليزي. تابعونا لآخر وأبرز المستجدات من أديس أبابا.
Tedros, this is a great day for Ethiopia because Ígad is, of course, hosting this Ígad Media Awards right today and tomorrow. And before we just go through that, let's talk about what we mean by Ígad and what is Ígad all about. Well, Ígad was, of course, established in 1986. When it was established in this year, in 1986, well, it dealt with, combating desertification, land degradation, and drought in the Horn of Africa. But member states, of course, changed their mind, and then after some years, of course, to be precise, 10 years, in 1996, they just stretched, their domains. They expanded it, and they included issues like environmental issues, encompassing peace, security, economic development, and regional integration. So from time to time, the impact of Ígad has grown, and of course, the focus is to fight anything that goes against the member countries, the member states. Well, the Horn of Africa is known for being, very complex politically, socially, economically, and there are, of course, both natural and man-made challenges in this part of the Horn of Africa. So the Horn of Africa is a place where you have most of the time, challenges that arise from the environment. For example, desertification, lack of, enough rainfall, and of course, many other things like conflict is something, just that's very common in the Horn of Africa. And so these Ígad member states this is what we have about Ígad member states and what they have been doing through Ígad. Say a few things about Ígad.
شكرا لك زميلي جميتشس. طبعا لنجعل المعلومات تتدفق أيضا للمتحدثين باللغة العربية، سوف نخبرهم عن كمقدمة عن الهيئة الحكومية الدولية المعنية بالتنمية، والتي تعرف بإيغاد باللغة الإنجليزية، والتي طبعا كما شرفت وقدمت أنها أسست سنة 1986 تحت مسمى الهيئة الحكومية الدولية لمكافحة الجفاف. وطبعا كان الهدف الأساسي مشاهدينا الكرام من مكافحة التصحر وتدهور الأراضي بالأخص في القرن الأفريقي. والجفاف الذي كان يواجه القرن الأفريقي بشكل متكرر. وطبعا مع تزايد التحديات المتشابكة والمعقدة جدا في القرن الأفريقي، توسعت مهام الهيئة وأعيد هيكلتها عام 1996، أي بعد قرابة أو تقريبا 10 أعوام، لتشمل أيضا عدة قضايا، منها قضايا السلام والأمن والتنمية الاقتصادية والتكامل الإقليمي بين الجوار. وطبعا تعد الإيغاد اليوم هي تجمعا اقتصاديا ولديها اعتراف إفريقي ودولي، سواء من الاتحاد الإفريقي وأيضا من الأمم المتحدة. ولديها أيضا يمكن أن نذكر الدول التي هي تعتبر أعضاء من الإيغاد، هي 7 دول، منها إثيوبيا وجيبوتي وكينيا والصومال وجنوب السودان وأوغندا والسودان أيضا وإريتريا التي جمدت عضويتها منذ عام 2018. يعملون هؤلاء ال7 دول الذين أسسوا الإيغاد بشكل مشترك لتعزيز الاستقرار والقدرة على التنمية والاستدامة في القرن الأفريقي وأيضا في المناطق المجاورة. طبعا ويجسد هذا الجهد الجماعي الذي يبذله دول أعضاء الإيغاد لمعالجة التحديات المشتركة عبر التعاون الإقليمي والعمل المنسق. نعود إلى زميلنا جميتشس.
Yeah, thank you, Tedros. Of course, our reporters from Skylight Hotel are ready to tell us about the event there regarding, of course, this award. Shall we give them the chance, the floor?
No.
Yes. Yeah. So you tell the Arabic.
نعم. الآن تجري فعاليات أو احتفاء أو جوائز الإيغاد التي تعقد في العاصمة الإثيوبية أديس أبابا، ولدينا عدة مراسلين من الحدث سوف يوافون بأبرز المستجدات من الحدث.
Thank you. You may take your seats. A very good morning. My name is Austin Opata. I'll be your MC for the day. On a day-to-day activity, I work with Ígad as the head of communications. And personally, I'm glad to see you here today. First of all, I will start by welcoming our chief guests, His Excellency Seyom Mekonnen, State Minister, Ministry of Planning and Development, His Excellency Mr. Bebao, Head of Ígad Mission to Ethiopia, ambassadors present, 2025 Ígad Media Awards nominees, distinguished guests, welcome to the 2025 Ígad Media Awards. How many are happy to be here today? I will quickly head to straight to the agenda of the day by calling our chief guests and our head of mission to join us on stage. Excellency, please join us on stage. As they join us on stage, can we give them a round of applause? Thank you very much. So to start, I will call our Ígad Head of Mission to deliver his opening remarks. His Excellency Mr. Bebao, Ígad Head of Mission of Ethiopia. Round of applause, please.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. እንዴት አደራችሁ? Your Excellency, Ato Siyum Makonnen, State Minister for Ministry of Planning and Development, Honorable senior government officials, ambassadors, distinguished guests from Ethiopia, and all Ígad member states, respected media professionals, representatives of our partner institutions, dear friends, sisters and brothers. Good morning again, and welcome to this beautiful city. This morning in Addis Ababa, we gather in unity under one of the most compelling themes in the history of humanity, the caprices of climate challenge. We come together not only to plan, but to reaffirm something more powerful. Our stories, and especially your stories, can shape the future of Eastern Africa. I stand before you here, humbled, speaking as part of the advanced team of His Excellency Dr. Gabiyo, the Executive Secretary of Ígad, preparing fully for the historic third Ígad Media Awards, which will be taking place tomorrow in the afternoon. By selecting Addis Ababa as a host city, Ígad and its member states honor Ethiopia's steadfast leadership in regional cooperation, peace building, and green development. Your deep commitment demonstrated through recent gains in regional integration and climate diplomacy makes this city fitting stage for us to recognize journalistic excellence. The theme, this year's award theme for 2025 is storytelling for climate action, for secure, resilient and stable region, which speaks directly and immediately to Ígad's mission. Over the last 4 decades, Ígad has evolved from a focus of drought relief to a broader mandate: peace, security, environment, livelihoods, and regional integration. Just to give a little bit background, when the first Ígad, the predecessor, was established in 1986, was merely established to address recurring droughts and desertification. The current Ígad, which was established in 1996, has been working and preventing, detecting, forecasting climate challenge, and supporting the efforts of member states to address, prevent, and be resilient. We believe Ígad is the most capable regional economic community in addressing the challenges of climate. Yet institutions and policies alone do not move hearts. It is a journalistic excellence on the ground, a photographer in a village by encroaching desert, radio broadcaster giving voice to pastoralists whose grazing lands vanish. Through your work, you humanize numbers, the trends, the warnings. You can turn dry data into lived experiences. And this is what compels communities, governments, and partners to act and to respond timely. For these the third media awards, nearly 400 media professionals across from all our member states will vie for recognition. A jury of 21 distinguished experts stand ready to honor those whose work not only inform us on the challenges and opportunities that come with climate challenge, but inspires resilience action. For some of you, probably you didn't know, the first was held in Djibouti on the theme of drought and resilience. The second was held last year in Nairobi, and Journalism and Media Award on Peace and Security. This is the third one, which honors professional journalists on climate action. Let this meeting today be more than logistics and roundtables. Let it be a reaffirmation that in the face of floods, droughts, displacement, the pen, the broadcast microphone, the smart camera remain among our most potent tools for change and reaction. I thank you, Your Excellency, State Minister Siyu Makonnen, the government and the people of Ethiopia for the warm support and this great hospitality they have extended. This event would not have been successful without the strong support of the Ethiopian government. I thank our Pan-African partners and development institutions who believe in the potential to drive transformation. I would also like to take this opportunity to once again congratulate the government of Ethiopia for being chosen to host COP32. May this gathering stir creativity, deepen collaboration, and set the foundation of a powerful award ceremony tomorrow. One of the honors of excellence uplifts voices and strengthens resilience across our region. The Horn and the greater Eastern Africa belongs to all of us. Let's tell stories, all of which are most certainly courageous, compassionate, and compelling, and useful. Before closing, I would like to recognize and appreciate our partners, EOA, Exim Bank, and especially and particularly Ethio Telecom, which supported this event enormously. With those many words, I thank you very much. Give it back to Austin. Okay. Excellency, may I invite you join the podium and deliver your remarks, please. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Distinguished Head of Delegates for Íغاد member states, distinguished guests, esteemed members of media community, ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. It is a great honor to welcome you to the land of origin, the cradle of humankind, where humanity takes its first step. It is a pleasure to privilege to gather here with all of you, champion of truth, storyteller of our time, and dedicated advocates for a more sustainable and resilient future. I wish to express my sincere appreciation to Íغاد for conveying this important event and for its unwavering dedication to strengthen regional cooperation on climate resilience. This gathering offers us a vital platform to reflect, collaborate, and then advance our collective effort in addressing one of the most urgent and defining challenges of our era, that's climate change. Distinguished participants, today we meet at a moment when climate change continues to reshape lives across Africa with the profound consequences. From prolonged drought to unpredictable rainfall, from flood escalating heat waves, the impacts are not abstractions. They are realities felt deeply by our farmers, our lowland communities, and then millions whose livelihoods depend directly on the land. Africa contributes least to global emission, yet bears some of the heaviest burden. Our farmers, pastoralists, lowlands stand at the front line of a crisis they did not create. Yet in the midst of this challenge, Africa made significant strides, whether through large-scale reforestation, climate-smart agriculture, innovative renewable energy investment, or community-based adaptation program. The continent is demonstrating a determination and creatively. This effort reflects not only our commitment to survival, but our conviction that Africa can lead with a solution grounded in our wisdom, science, and resilience. Ethiopia stands as a clear example of this proactive leadership. Through the Green Legacy Initiative, we have planted more than 48 billion trees in 7 years, restoring degraded ecosystem, combating climate change, and enhancing biodiversity. Our bold investment in renewable energy, including the recent inaugurated Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, along with solar, wind, and geothermal resources, are not only driving sustainable national development, but also positioning Ethiopia as a regional clean energy hub. These efforts are strengthening power interconnection with our neighbors, Kenya, Djibouti, Sudan, and Tanzania, thereby enhancing regional energy security. The role of Ígad is amplifying and sustaining this achievement remains indispensable. Through its climate program, early warning systems, and climate diplomacy, Ígad continues to facilitate collaborative approach and build resilience across our regions. As we confront unprecedented climate threats, Ígad provides a strategic platform and tools needed to secure a sustainable and prosperous future for our people. Excellencies, media representatives, ladies and gentlemen, we gather not only to reflect but also to celebrate the transformative powers of the media in shaping public understanding and driving collective climate action. The Ígad Media Award recognizes journalists, storytellers, and media institutions that brings to light the voices, experience, and solutions emerging from our regions. By dedicating this year's award to climate change, Ígad underscores the indispensable role of the media in raising awareness, influencing public discourses, and driving policy movement. The media's capacity to question narratives, illuminate truths, and inspire action is critical in our pursuit of climate resilience. The second African Climate Summit held in Addis Ababa in September 2025 demonstrates this power. Many of you here today may contribute significantly to reframing African climate narratives. Many of you present today might be part of this effort, helping us move beyond the outdated perception of Africans as mere victims of climate change and aid dependence. Together, we showcase Africa as a continent of powerhouse of solutions, a leader in nature-based solutions, renewable energy, climate solutions, and bold climate actions. This renowned narrative is now firmly anchored in the Africa Leaders Addis Ababa Declaration on Climate Change and Call for Action, to continue to guide Africa's engagement in at a global platform, including COP30 in Brazil this November. But our journey doesn't end here. The narrative must continue to evolve, authentically, confidently, and purposefully. We must ensure that Africa is not a passive recipient of externally defined narrative, but a principal architect of its own story. We must communicate actively, strategically, and coherently to ensure aligning with our regional priorities and highlight the meaningful action underway. Ethiopia is deeply honored to host COP32. This is a moment of pride, not just for our nation, but for the entire Ígad region and the African continent. Hosting COP32 gives us a unique opportunity to elevate African priority, advance climate justice, and shape global decision with African leadership at the forefront. As we look ahead, I warmly invite you, our distinguished media partners and Ígad, to collaborate closely with Ethiopia. Let us work together to make COP32 impactful and to leave behind lasting legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, over the next 2 days, I encourage you to engage deeply, question boldly, collaboratively, openly, and imagine freely. Resilient, prosperous, and climate secure region we aspire to build will be shaped not only through policy and diplomacy, but also through the compelling narrative we craft and then the share with the world. Before I conclude, I warmly invite you all participants to visit the Ethiopian Science Museum, found at the center of Addis Ababa, where we have a permanent world-class climate exhibition that showcases Ethiopia's ambition and a practical climate action. I am confident that you witness there will be further inspire you your work and strengthen your engagement in advancing climate agenda. Finally, I wish each of you fruitful deliberation. May your work continue to illuminate truth, inspire action, and strengthen our collective resolve to safeguard our planet. I declare the meeting is officially open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency State Minister, for welcoming us to Addis Ababa and also for officially opening the meeting for us. I wonder why the room is kind of dull. Is it the climate change issues that's pushing us to the brink, or what is going on? Huh? We understand our member states have been working hard, especially the footprint that Ethiopia is making in terms of green energy, as explained by the minister. They recently launched GAD dam that's going to be a game changer, not just in Ethiopia, but also in the region. And the milestones that Ethiopia is also taking with the Green Legacy, Kenya is also taking with the Jazamiti program, Uganda is also taking with the Roots program. And I think if we keep this pace as a region, probably, and just maybe, I don't know, I don't want to give assurance because we have scientists sitting in the room, and it will be upon them to deliberate on these issues, but probably, or maybe, we will not have these climate change issues that we are having today if we keep pace. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next program, which will be group photo. We will have the group photo right here on stage. So I'll humbly request ambassadors present and senior Eegad officials present to come on stage. And then I'll call on the Eegad 2025 nominees to also come on stage. And then we will close it at that for the group photo. So ambassadors, please join us on stage, and Eegad senior officials for the group photo, followed by the 2025 nominees. Also be joined.
Good morning. I am Tinsai Gabriel, reporting live from the Skylight Hotel in Addis Ababa, where
Didn't,
IGAD has launched the 2025 Voices for Climate Action panel series, leading up to this year's IGAD Media Awards Gala. The two-day event brings together experts, policymakers, youth voices, and media practitioners under the theme Storytelling for Climate Action for a Resilient, Secure, and Stable Region. The panel discussion will continue tomorrow with 2 more sessions, followed by the Media Awards Gala in the evening. This is Pulse of Africa. Stay with us for more updates.
هيسمعني
من العاصمة الإثيوبية أديس أبابا تتجه الأنظار المنطقة نحو واحد من أكبر التجمعات الإعلامية في القرن الأفريقي، النسخة الثالثة من جوائز إيغاد للإعلام التي تقام هذا العام تحت شعار سرد القصص من أجل العمل المناخي من أجل منطقة آمنة ومرونة ومستقرة. حدث يؤكد الدور الحيوي للإعلام في دعم السلام والاستقرار ومواجهة المعلومات المضللة وتعزيز الوعي بقضايا المناخ. كما تفخر مؤسستنا الإعلامية POA نبض إفريقيا بكونها شريكا بارزا في جائزة الإيغاد للإعلام، خاصة المخصصة لدعم السرد الإفريقي الأصيل. وتتضمن الفعاليات كلمة من هيئة إيغاد حول أهمية العمل الإقليمي المشترك لمواجهة التحديات المناخية، وتؤقد بعد حلقة النقاش حول تعزيز الصمود في وجه الجفاف في منطقة إيغاد ودور الشباب والإعلام في إيصال المعلومات الإنذار المبكر. وبعد الاستراحة تتواصل الجلسات بمناقشة أوضاع الثروة الحيوانية في ظل الصدمات المناخية في القرن الإفريقي، وتليها جلسة حول الابتكار والتقنية الحديثة لتعزيز القدرة التكيف مع تغير المناخ وبناء مستقبل أكثر مرونة للمنطقة.
This is Africa, the cradle of humanity, the frontier of the future, a land of visionaries, creators and pioneers, a continent of unstoppable energy where innovation meets tradition, where voices rise, loud and fearless.
I am an African.
This is the heartbeat of a billion people, diverse, bold, united by a single purpose to tell our own stories in our own way. No borders, no barriers, no filters. A new era of African storytelling is here. From every corner of the continent, from the bustling cities to the quiet village, we tell Africa's story by Africans for the world. This is the land of a rising Africa, where Africa speaks and the world listens. This is why today we bring you POA, pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa. This is Africa.
Well, Tedros, we're back to our viewers. Well, shall we tell our viewers, what we mean by this particular award and what it is all about, and when did it start, and why is it that, so important for journalists or media community, in the Horn of Africa? Well, it started, back in 2023 in Djibouti, and then in 2024 last year in Kenya, and then the third is taking place, in Ethiopia here. And well, the aim is, of course, to honor outstanding journalism and media contributions that promote regional development, peace, stability, and resilience in the Horn of Africa. And this award, aims to encourage responsible journalism, and it raises awareness on critical issues such as drought, conflict, and climate change. Well, we know journalism, plays a big role in people's lives. We can't help it. It's the fourth government, yeah? And especially these days, in the advent of social media, for example, people have easy access to the media, and then they can create, any content, then they send it to the whole world, and then if they are negative, of course, they impact, people negatively. But here, what Ígad is doing is, of course, those that enhance, people's lives, that contribute to people's lives, and that obviously, impact, positively the lives of people. This is, something that Ígad is, of course, appreciating, and in the honor of this, Ígad conducts, this award. And what can we say about this? We can say a lot, but these are, of course, the aim of this award.
نعم، شكرا جميتشس. طبعا علينا أولا أن نعي أو نعرف أو يكون لدينا الإدراك الكامل حول هذه الاحتفالات أو جائزة الإيغاد للإعلام، خلفيتها وتاريخها ومتى كانت أول مرة. طبعا تعد جائزة إيغاد للإعلام هي تكريم سنوي تنظمه الهيئة الحكومية للتنمية لتقدير عمل الإعلاميين الأفارقة، وبالأخص في القرن الأفريقي، والصحفيين أيضا المتميزين الذين يسهمون في تعزيز التنمية والاستقرار وأيضا القدرة على الصمود في القرن الأفريقي بصورة عامة، وأيضا لدول الجوار بصورة أيضا. وتهدف الجائزة أيضا لتشجيع الصحافة المسؤولة والتي تكون أيضا مرفقة بها الشفافية وزيادة الوعي بالقضايا، وأيضا هنالك قضايا طبعا حرجة جدا مثل الجفاف والصراعات وتغير المناخ، وكل هذه تعمل عليها جائزة إيغاد لكي تكون انعكاسا للصحفيين والإعلاميين الذين يعكسون الصورة الإيجابية أو الوعي للتغيرات المناخية والنزاعات وإلى آخره. وأيضا تعزز التكامل الإقليمي خلال التميز الإعلامي. وتواصل النسخة الأخيرة التي نراها الآن، طبعا قبلها ذكرنا أنها كانت في عام 2023 في جيبوتي، وفي العام السابق كانت في كينيا عام 2024، واليوم تحتضنها إثيوبيا لعام 2025. وطبعا هي تبرز اليوم قصص وأعمال الصحفيين والإعلاميين المؤثرة التي انعكست بصورة إيجابية أو كانت لها حلول أو عمليات إيجابية على السياسات والرأي العام لدول الإيغاد ولمنطقة القرن الأفريقي والدول المجاورة أيضا. ولهذا نشكر طبعا هيئة الإيغاد لأنها تبرز أو تركز على الإعلام، لأنها تعلم أو تعي أن للإعلام يساهم بشكل كبير في القضايا ويكشف خصوصا في هذا الوقت الذي نمر به من التلاعب عبر السوشيال ميديا. لذلك جائزة الإيغاد هذه تسهم في التركيز على الصحفيين والإعلاميين الذين يعملون بشفافية وتركيز ويبرزون الوعي ويدفقون المعلومات بطريقة شفافة لمنطقة الإيغاد. تفضل زميلي جميتشس.
Thank you, Theodros. Well, each year, of course, IGAD has its own, themes and focus areas. For example, the award, has a specific theme aligned with IGAD's strategic priorities: climate resilience, regional integration, health crisis, and conflict prevention. These could be, the themes of IGAD, and based on these themes, of course, this award is celebrated, and journalists especially, who have produced, good work in these areas will be honored, they will be selected. And this is very important, for countries, in the Horn of this Africa, because this is, a place, or this is a region where we have, natural disasters most of the time. We have, drought, we have, just lack of water and lack of rainfall as well, and conflicts are prevalent. And so these are, important matters that these Horn of African countries should deal with. Okay, so the past winners, of course, included, journalists and media organizations that produced investigative reports on drought management, peace building efforts, and cross-border collaboration. These three things are, very important. This area, as I said earlier, is, a place where we have, too much drought, and so countries, need to know how to deal or how to manage, drought. So we have, journalists, just that go and then, do media productions, just that enhance positive impacts in the case of, drought management. And so journalists, who have, media productions or media works on these matters are appreciated, and climate resilience, regional integration, health crisis, conflict prevention, these are, what the Horn of African countries are engaged with, because, just these are the realities that we are in. So if we take, climate resilience, we have lack of rainfall in the Horn of Africa, and as a result, farmers have been, affected. Their producers have been badly affected, and because of it, again, we have, famine here and there in these, 8 Horn of African countries, or which are, IGAD member states: Ethiopia, Djibouti, Eritrea, Kenya, Somalia, South Sudan, Uganda, and Sudan itself. So in these places, we have natural related and human-made, problems, and they must be, dealt with properly. And media has, a big role to play here. Media, informs the population. Media informs, experts. Media informs, policy makers. And this is so important that IGAD member countries are investing on appreciating and honoring those journalists, who are doing very good work in these regards. Tedros.
نعم، شكرا جميتشس. طبعا الجوائز، عندما نتحدث عن الجوائز السابقة للإيغاد، طبعا أطلقت الجائزة لتحفيز الإعلاميين على تغطية قضايا تساند التنمية والسلام. أيضا طبعا شملت موضوعات مثل الاستجابة للجفاف وحل النزاعات وتعزيز التماسك الاجتماعي الذي يفتقر له بصورة كبيرة القرن الأفريقي والإيغاد تعمل على هذا. أيضا طبعا تحدد الجائزة كل سنة وفقا إلى موضوع يتماشى مع أولويات الإيغاد، وأيضا الاستراتيجيات التي تهم الإيغاد مثل تعزيز القدرة على الصمود والتكامل الإقليمي والأزمات الصحية، وأيضا الوقاية من النزاعات التي تجري في القرن الأفريقي. وطبعا تقيم الإيغاد تقيم أعمال الصحافة أو الإعلام وفقا للأصالة، وأيضا لدقة السرد والصور، وأيضا التأثير، وكما ذكرت أيضا جودة الصور والسرد أيضا بطريقة أن يكون قوي ويهدف لحل وليس لأن يعرقل أو يعقد الأمور. وأيضا إذا كانت هنالك في القضايا الإعلامية حول إدارة، أيضا إذا ركزت حول إدارة الجفاف وجهود أيضا بناء السلام والتعاون أيضا عبر الحدود بين دول الإيغاد. طبعا هذا سيساهم جدا في دعم السياسات وزيادة الوعي الإقليمي. طبعا السبعة الدول الذين يعتبرون ضمن مجموعة الإيغاد يعملون على ذلك. وأيضا هذه الجائزة ستساعد في الارتقاء بالدور الإعلامي وتعزيز الوعي للمشاهدين وللمتابعين أيضا بأن الإعلام يلعب دور كبير في التأثير على المجتمعات. لذلك الإيغاد تنظر لهذه المسابقة أو تعكس هذه المسابقة لكي يعمل الإعلام بصورة إيجابية لحل الأزمات سواء كانت غير مناخية، وأيضا لحل النزاعات وإيجاد حلول بين المجتمعات والأعراق في دول الإيغاد. وأيضا يمكن أن نرى الآثار. طبعا هي قد هذه الأعمال الإعلامية والصحفية التي تركز عليها الإيغاد في الجوائز لكي تبني ثقة وتعزز أيضا المساءلة، وتكون هنالك أيضا تنمية اقتصادية بين دول الإيغاد في القرن الأفريقي. تفضل زميلي جميتشس.
Thank you, Tedros. These IGAD member states, they have as many similarities as they have differences. If you look at, just the geography of these countries, some of them are, in arid areas, located in arid region of, the Horn of Africa. Some others are, in places where you have, for example, continued rain throughout the year. Even, if you take those very close to the eastern part of Africa, Somalia, Ethiopia, Kenya, they have, a variety of topography, a variety of, climate, and some of them have, wet areas, some of these countries. Some, again, at the same time, they have, arid areas, quite, large space. And we have, pastoralists, for example, who need, water for their cattle, for their animals. And because, there is, a severe water shortage, water is, a concern for everyone in the Horn of Africa. And in some cases, we have conflicts looking for, grazing land, looking for, water wells, etc. And conflict is, here and there in the Horn of Africa. So IGAD member states, have been dealing with, these challenges, just that affect, the peace in the Horn of Africa. So here the media comes in, and media works or media journalism, is in play here to appreciate and to expand, just these good activities with regard to, solving conflicts, for example. So drought is there, conflict is there, okay? And of course, just people need a lot of things, and when their needs are not met, of course, conflict is likely to pop up. And so governments, need to work, need to collaborate. So cross-border collaboration is needed. And so all these need to be, covered by the media, and so that, they will have, positive impact on the people. So this award appreciate, the works of these journalists, with positive impact. And these have been, invited, and then in the last 2 sessions that took place, in Djibouti and Kenya, as of 2023 and then 2024, respectively. In Djibouti and Kenya, journalists were, of course, given recognition for what they have done, for the work they have done, for the good work they have done. And here in 2025, right now, Ígad is doing the same thing, so that these challenges of the whole nations will be addressed through media. So you inform people, you inform policymakers, so that the kind of measure will be made immediately to solve just these challenges to address.
نعم طبعا كما ذكرت دول القرن الأفريقي أو بالأخص الذين يتبعون لهيئة الإيغاد هنالك طبعا يتواجدون في جغرافية واحدة، لكن التغير المناخي يؤثر جدا على بعض المناطق. فهنالك مناطق تهطل فيها الأمطار بصورة غزيرة، وهنالك أيضا مشاكل أيضا، كما ذكرنا أن هنالك هطول أمطار في بعض المناطق في القرن الأفريقي، وهنالك أيضا مناطق تعاني من الجفاف، وهنالك أزمات للمواشي، وهنالك أيضا أزمات لقلة المواشي والري، أيضا هنالك مشاكل في الري. وهنا طبعا هنا نذكر أيضا النزاعات بين الحدود. لذلك هنا يأتي دور الإعلام، وإيغاد تعي جدا أهمية الإعلام. لذلك الإعلام يمكنه أن يلعب بصورة كبيرة في إيجاد حلول أو التركيز على مشاكل الجفاف، على مشاكل تغير المناخ بصورة عامة، على مشاكل أو التشابكات المعقدة بين الحدود بين دول الإيغاد. لذلك هيئة الإيغاد تركز جدا على الإعلام لكي يلعب الإعلام دور كبير في أن يربط مجتمعات الإيغاد ببعضها البعض، لكي تكون هنالك تنمية مستدامة، لكي يكون هنالك ازدهار واحد، لكي تتقلل النزاعات، لكي تكون هنالك استعدادات للتغير المناخ، لكي تكون هنالك أعمال حتى بعد تغيرات المناخ التي تحدث اضطرابات. لذلك إيغاد تركز جدا وتكرم الصحفيين والإعلاميين الذين يبرزون هذه المشاكل ويعكسونها على المجتمعات، لكي يكون هنالك قاسم مشترك بين دول الإيغاد لكي تعمل عليه وتحله. لذلك تقدير كبير للصحفيين والإعلاميين الذين يعملون على كشف الحقائق أو أن يجعلوا المعلومات تتدفق بصورة أكبر وأوضح للمجتمعات في دول الإيغاد. تفضل زميلي جميتشس.
Well, IGAD's focus and its media work before, during and after disasters, this is very important. And of course, IGAD invests a lot on the first phase of the work, which is early warning systems and information sharing. This is very important. Before anything like this, happens, IGAD, does a lot of work to inform people so that, they can avoid it. One of the big challenges that people have or populations have is, of course, lack of knowledge about, the kind of disaster that is ahead of them. So IGAD, through its specialized agencies like IGAD Climate Prediction and Application Center, provides seasonal climate forecast, drought predictions, and early warning alerts. And this is, a very important thing to do. Unfortunately, in many parts of these IGAD member states where there is, lack of devices such as telephones, radios, etc. People don't have access to this kind of information provided by IGAD. However, in places where people have, these telephones, especially mobile phones, television sets or radio sets, people have access to these informations. And of course, this has brought about, big positive outcomes by alerting people before disasters happen. And this is a very good thing. And media outlets in member states are encouraged to disseminate climate forecasts, of course. We in Ethiopia and in many horn countries, of course, we have dissemination of climate forecasts through meteorology, and then risk alerts and preparedness messages are communicated to the people thanks to technology. People have television sets, people have radios, people have, especially these days, more of mobile sets, and this is a very good thing. And so IGAD has been reaching populations with informations on disasters before they happen, so that people take proper precautions. Well, viewers, will be back after a break. Tedros, panelists are at Skylight Hotel. Of course, they are having presentations on a variety of reasons that are related to climate. And of course, the theme is strengthen drought resilience in the IGAD region. And the other one is, of course, from crisis to capacity building. And you may share this, to your viewers.
نعم طبعا الآن تجري في حفل جوائز الإيغاد منتدى أو اجتماع تحت شعار من الأزمة إلى تعزيز القدرة على الصمود، وهو طبعا في منظمة الهيئة الحكومية الدولية المعنية بالتنمية. تفضل.
This is Africa, the cradle of humanity, the frontier of the future, a land of visionaries, creators and pioneers, a continent of unstoppable energy where innovation meets tradition, where voices rise, loud and fearless.
I am an African.
This is the heartbeat of a billion people, diverse, bold, united by a single purpose to tell our own stories in our own way. No borders, no barriers, no filters. A new era of African storytelling is here. From every corner of the continent, from the bustling cities to the quiet villages, we tell Africa's story by Africans for the world. This is the land of a rising Africa, where Africa speaks and the world listens. This is why today we bring you POA, Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa. This is Africa.
Viewers, we're back to you. This panel is taking place at Skylight Hotel. Of course, Ígad is fighting drought, and what measures have been taken by Ígad in order to mitigate the effects or the impacts of this desertification or lack of rainfall, etc., is of course the topic. And at this particular moment, panelists are opening with climate prediction and early warning, food security and humanitarian responses. And on these issues, the panelists will be exchanging ideas. They will be discussing issues, and of course, they will be seeking, solutions for these challenges. And youth, media, and climate action, communicating early warning information in the Ígad region is, of course, the theme under which we have this climate prediction and early warning, food security and humanitarian response topics. And the panelists will be sharing ideas on this. Teddy.
نعم مشاهدينا الكرام، عدنا إليكم لتغطية حفل جوائز الإيغاد للإعلام التي تحتضنها إثيوبيا في العاصمة أديس أبابا في مقر سكاي لايت، وتجري الآن تحت شعار من الأزمة إلى تعزيز القدرة على الصمود في منظمة الهيئة الحكومية للتنمية. وستكون هناك الآن تجري حلقة نقاش، ومن أبرز النقاط التي سوف يتم النقاش حولها ستكون استخدام وسائل الإعلامي والمناخ، وأيضا كيفية العمل المناخي وتوصيل معلومات الإنذار المبكر في منظمة الهيئة الحكومية الدولية المعنية بالتنمية. وأيضا سوف يتطرقون إلى الأمن الغذائي والاستجابة الإنسانية. نعود إلى كيف تعمل إيغاد في الإعلام قبل وأثناء وأيضا بعد الكوارث. طبعا أول سوف نتطرق إلى قبل الكوارث، كيف تبني الوعي وتعزيز الاستعداد. هنالك طبعا أنظمة الإنذار المبكر وتبادل المعلومات التي تعمل عليها هيئة الإيغاد، وأيضا تقدم الإيغاد عبر مؤسساتها مثل التي تتخصص في مركز التنبؤات المناخية وتطبيقاتها، وأيضا توقعات موسمية وإنذارات مبكرة للجفاف والفيضانات التي تحدث في القرن الأفريقي. وأيضا تشجع وسائل الإعلام وتدرب الكوادر على نشر التوقعات المناخية وتحذير المخاطر التي تلي منها. وأيضا هنالك توعية برسائل الاستعدادات للمجتمعات القروية في الزراعة والرعاة، وأيضا للسلطات المحلية. وإيغاد أيضا تعمل على بناء القدرات وإشراك الإعلام بدور كبير في بناء هذه القدرات. مثلا الإيغاد تنظم دورات تدريبية للصحفيين حول الحد من المخاطر الكوارث، وأيضا التكيف مع تغير المناخ، بالخصوص منطقة القرن الأفريقي التي تعاني جدا من الاضطرابات المناخية. وأيضا أساليب التقارير التي تكون دقيقة ومسؤولة، التي تنشر أو تخرج للعلن خلال الأزمات التي تحدث في منطقة الإيغاد. وأيضا الإيغاد تشجع على استخدام الإعلام كوسيلة للتوعية العامة للمجتمعات في دول الإيغاد، خاصة في مجالات إدارة الجفاف، وأيضا كيفية الاستعداد للفيضانات والمخاطر الصحية التي تنتج عنها. وأيضا الإيغاد تعزز القدرة على الصمود والمبادرات المجتمعية لدول الإيغاد، يمكننا أن نقول أنها تسلط الضوء على الحملات الإعلامية وأيضا على مشاريع مجتمعية ناجحة تفيد دول الإيغاد، مثل حصاد المياه والزراعة، وكما قلت أو ذكرت سابقا مقاومة الجفاف وأنظمة الإنذار المبكر. وأيضا تركز إيغاد على الإعلام لأنه يلعب دور محوريا في الدعوة للسياسات والاستثمارات التي تعزز القدرة على الصمود على المستوى الإقليمي بصورة أكبر. تفضل زميلي جميتشس.
Thank you, Tedros. Of course, journalists and media professionals are required to have the knowledge and skill when they do their reporting. And IGAD understands that journalists and media professionals need to be equipped with the knowledge and the skills when they deal with, disaster risk reduction, climate change adaptation, and responsible reporting. Well, of course, when disasters happen and when journalists are not responsible and when they report, as they wish, without taking proper precautions, then the impact is likely to be negative. For example, people could be devastated. When should people or the population be aware of the disaster? What kind of measures should they take in order to avoid possible risk, possible damages, for example, damages of property or loss of lives? When people are, of course, exposed to these kinds of disasters, they'll be nervous and they may not be taking informed decisions as they try to avoid the incoming damage. And as a result, people, of course, could lose lives and property could be lost, damaged. And of course, what IGAD does in such circumstances is that, informing journalists giving them training on how to do the reporting, and so that people would take informed decisions to avoid damages, losses of lives, property loss, etc. And IGAD has been doing this very well. And the other thing is, of course, promotion of resilience and community initiatives. This is, what IGAD is doing very well, which means showing good practices by journalists, good practices by the public, by individuals, etc., that of course involved, escaping risks or anything that is positive with regard to the measures people make. So media campaigns highlight successful community-led resilience projects and such as water harvesting. For example, in many parts of the Horn of Africa region, we have as we know, prevalent water shortage, and people take, of course, smart ways to harvest water, which is a very good thing. And they also conduct drought-resistant farming, and they have, of course, early warning systems. And so when all these come to the attention of journalists, journalists, of course, propagate them, share them with the population at large, so that, other member states, other aspect of the population would take, just those positive deeds or activities. And this is, what IGAD has been doing. And as the media plays a vital role in advocating policies and investments that strengthen systemic resilience, these are also propagated by IGAD. So IGAD does all these things in order to inform people before disasters happen. And this is a very good thing.
نعم زميلي قميجس. الآن مشاهدينا ومتابعينا فلنرى كيف تتعامل هيئة الإيغاد أو منظمة الإيغاد أثناء حدوث الكوارث، والتي طبعا تتمثل في نشر المعلومات والاستجابة لها. طبعا هنالك من ضمنها أو من أولوياتها هي الإنذارات الفورية، وأيضا التغطية الإعلامية أثناء الكوارث. طبعا خلال الأزمات مثل الفيضانات والجفاف وغزو الجراد والأوبئة وإلى آخره، تستخدم الإيغاد دولها الأعضاء ووسائل الإعلام لنشر الإنذارات الفورية حتى يتمكن للمجتمعات التعامل مع تلك الكوارث. طبعا تبث عبر وسائل الإعلام الإقليمية والوطنية، وتنشر تعليمات السلامة ومسارات الإجلاء في حالة كانت الكارثة خطيرة جدا، وأيضا الإرشادات الصحية في كيفية التعامل مع تلك المخاطر. وأيضا تزيد الاعتماد على منصات التواصل الاجتماعي وخدمات الرسائل النصية للاتصال السريع بالجمهور. طبعا هنالك أيضا متابعة التقارير، تقوم وسائل الإعلام بتوثيق طبعا في حدوث أي كارثة في أي منطقة، تقوم وسائل الإعلام والصحافة بتغطية تلك الأحداث، لذلك من خلال تحديثات مباشرة وصور وقصص إنسانية عن مجريات تلك الأحداث التي تمر بها المناطق التي تتعرض للكوارث. وأيضا تغطي جهود الحكومات والوكالات الإنسانية وتدعم تعبئة الموارد والمساعدات التي يحتاجون لها المجتمعات المتضررة من الكوارث. لكن طبعا لا يمر يجب علينا أن نذكر التحديات التي تواجه دول الإيغاد. طبعا هنالك ضعف البنية التحتية، أو يمكن أن نقول صعوبة الوصول للمناطق النائية، مما طبعا ينعكس على البطء أو عدم تدفق المعلومات بالسرعة المطلوبة في المناطق التي تحدث فيها الكوارث. طبعا هذا سوف يتضرر منه الشعب الذي يواجه تلك المشاكل أو الكوارث. وطبعا لا ننسى أن نذكر الآثار الإعلامية والمعلومات المضللة اللي يمكن أيضا أن يلعبها الإعلام، لذلك هي أيضا تراعي تلك المنطقة، لأن الصحافة إن لم طبعا تراعي الشفافية والدقة في سرد المعلومات والكوارث قد ينعكس سلبا على المجتمعات. تفضل زميلي جميتس.
Thank you, Tedros. Of course, so far we've been talking about what IGAD and member states have been doing or are doing before disasters happen. How about, when disasters happen? Real-time alerts and coverages are made, of course. we can't help it. It is very common that disasters happen in the Horn of African nations, such as Sudan, Ethiopia, Somalia, etc. But when it happens, what is it that IGAD does? What is it that member state does? Is what's important here. Of course, during crises like floods, droughts, locust invasions, or health epidemics, IGAD and member states leverage media to disseminate real-time alerts. So what is it that people should do when these events take place? This is covered by the media of IGAD member states. Of course, regional and national media broadcast safety instructions. Well, safety instructions are very much delicate when they are not followed properly, or when the population has not understood them. Maybe the damage could be so immense. So what IGAD does through its media is that, of course, broadcasting safety instructions for the population, and in some cases maybe people must be evacuated from danger places, and of course evacuation routes are also communicated to the population, and health advisories are made. And health advisors, for example, we have health professionals. They could be physicians, they could be nurses, etc. They just come out and then they tell what people have to do. And social media platforms these days, thanks to technology, almost everybody has a cell phone, and through the cell phone, swiftly IGAD and the member states disseminate messages to the people, so that these messaging systems are increasingly used for rapid communication.
نعم زميلي جميتش، سوف أعيد هذه النقطة. لقد ذكرنا أن أثناء الكوارث تعمل الإيجاد مع المنظمات الغير حكومية، وأيضا تعمل مع الإعلام والهيئات الإعلامية والصحافة بشكل كبير أثناء حدوث أي كارثة في مناطق الإيجاد، حتى تكون هنالك توعية كافية للمجتمعات التي تعاني من تلك الكوارث، أو يكون لديهم فكرة كاملة عن ماهية الكارثة التي يخوضونها وكيفية التعامل معها. وذكرنا أيضا أن الإيجاد تنتبه جدا وتراقب جدا عمليات سرد القصص والإعلام للكوارث التي تحدث، حتى لا يكون هنالك تضليل، وتعمل جدا على أن تنقل الصحافة والإعلام صورة الكوارث التي تحدث في المناطق بالصورة الحقيقية وبشفافية، حتى يتمكن المجتمع للتعامل مع تلك المناطق. وأيضا قلنا أنها تعمل مع المنظمات والهيئات الغير حكومية. طبعا ذكرت أن هنالك تحديات تواجه دول الإيجاد أو منظمة الإيجاد بصورة عامة، وهي طبعا ضعف البنية التحتية في معظم مناطق دول الإيجاد، أو يمكننا بالأصح أن نقول صعوبة وصول المعلومات للشعب حين تحدث تلك الكارثة، أو سواء كانت من الصراعات أو التغيرات المناخية، مما طبعا ينعكس كما ذكرنا على بطء تدفق المعلومات للمجتمع. لذلك تكون هنالك صعوبات للتعامل معها، وقد تنتشر طبعا كما ذكرت الآثار الإعلامية والمعلومات المضللة. لذلك الإيجاد تعمل مع الهيئات الحكومية وغير الحكومية الإعلامية لكي تركز على توعية المجتمعات في كيفية التعامل مع التغيرات المناخية والمشاكل في القرن الإفريقي. تفضل زميل جميجس.
Viewers, you're watching from our studio, POA studio, as it happens. As the event happens from Skylight Hotel, we are, of course, putting efforts to bring the events to you. Let's be back after a brief break.
areas that form the pillar of climate change for more than a decade. And please, if you have questions to ask later on at the end of our panel discussion, please jot down your questions and be ready to ask. So we will start with the first panel, which is a panel coined in collaboration with IDRISI. This is the Ígad Drought Disaster Resilience Initiative. IDRISI right now is about 12 years old as an Ígad project, a very strategic project that has seen over 1.7 billion US dollars in terms of investments across the Ígad region, and impacted about 30 million people in the Ígad region. This is almost the size of a whole country. These are direct beneficiaries of the IDRISI as an initiative. So please, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the first panelists from who will be discussing this 12-year journey by Ígad. I will call on stage Dr. Kebayo, Dr. John Kabayo. Dr. John Kabayo is a former Ígad staff and head of IDRISI. Dr. John Kabayo, please join us. Round of applause for Dr. John Kabayo. Joining him is Mr. Jamal Ali. Mr. Jamal Ali is the BREFON's national coordinator. BREFON's national coordinator. Mr. Jamal Ali, please join. Thank you. The next person to join us is somebody who worked with IDRISI very well in some of the projects that were implementing the IDRISI program as a whole. Dr. Dereje Wakijira, Director of Ígad Center for Pastoral Areas and Livestock Development, based in Nairobi. Last but not least, we have Mr. Zelalem Yibetal, journalist at Pulse of Africa. Mr. Yibetal, please join us. And I'll be your ad hoc moderator. A round of applause for me. So you'll forgive me. I just learned that I'll be the moderator this morning. So we will just go ahead and jump straight to it. So I'll give you a quick background about the panel, and I'll read it as it is written here. The Ígad region continues to face recurrent droughts that threaten livelihoods, food security, and social stability. Cyclical droughts events, often exacerbated by climate change, land degradation, and conflict, have led to widespread humanitarian crisis, displacement, and economic losses. In response, Ígad established the Ígad Drought Disaster and Sustainability Initiative, IDRISI, in 2012 to shift the regional approach from reactive crisis management to proactive resilience building. Over the past 12 years, IDRISI has mobilized an investments of more than 1.7 billion US dollars, directly impacting over 30 million people across the Ígad region. Through community-based programs, infrastructure development, and institutional capacity building. IDRISI serves as a regional framework for coordinated action among IGAD member states and development partners, promoting early warning systems, cross-border collaboration, sustainable natural resource management, and long-term resilience. By integrating humanitarian and development efforts, the initiative continues to demonstrate how collective regional action can transform vulnerability into strength and ensure that communities are better prepared to withstand climate shocks. This panel will bring together policymakers, researchers, and journalists, and member states to explore how drought resilience can be strengthened through innovation, partnerships, and effective communication. It will highlight how media and storytelling can amplify the lessons and success of resilience building programs to drive behavioral change, influence policy, and inspire collective action. So first, I'll dive into the panel questions. To start with, I'll start with you, Dr. John Kabayo. How has IDRISI transformed drought response mechanism into proactive resilience systems across the IGAD region?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. IDRISI, as you may know by now, is the IGAD Drought Disaster Resilience and Sustainability Initiative. This initiative arose from a collective decision, I should say a historical collective decision made in 2011 by the leaders of the Horn of Africa region to do something about the recurrent droughts that ravaged the region at that time. And it was made necessary by the urgent need to do something and do it differently about the ravages of our ecological circumstances as they affected that region. At that time, countries waited until droughts struck and then they acted. In other words, they acted reactively. And they addressed drought with the humanitarian interventions. And countries usually worked alone, and even the actors in those countries, whether NGOs or government bodies, they acted on their own, individually. But IDRISI came in and prescribed new ways of doing things. And this required us to act proactively. In other words, to anticipate, to learn to manage the risk rather than manage the emergencies. And taught us to invest in development in such a way that will reduce the necessity for humanitarian interventions. It also taught us to work together as a region. Up to that time, as I said, we worked as individual countries, but with IDRISI, all the 7 IGAD member states learned to work together because the ecological circumstances affect all of us equally, and most of the problems we share, and so it was prudent that we should work together. Now, IDRISI was really an idea that came on its time, and we see it as a medicine that we have now known that was prescribed against a disease that become actually very effective as a cure. And somebody says it's a disease, it's a cure, a dose which we cannot have an overdose of because it's a necessary cure. And we have shown in the last 12 years that actually the prescriptions that we made for IDRISI actually work and make changes. There are many projects that have been undertaken within the framework of IDRISI following the strategy of building resilience. Resilience really is a capacity to withstand adverse change and grow. Droughts will come, they are natural phenomena, they cannot be stopped, but when they do strike, how should we behave? First of all, we should not wait until they come. We know now they are a constant feature in this region. Droughts used to happen every 10 years or so, but now there are places in this region which are actually droughts are perpetually present. And so it's a constant danger that we should now prepare for. We should no longer wait for it to happen before we act. So it really taught us to act proactively, to learn to manage the risk rather than managing the emergencies. It's much cheaper. The new way of doing things now is to prepare before the actual disaster comes and do something about it, and then to invest in development in such a way that you stop the need for humanitarian interventions. If, for example, there was drought, instead of tracking water to areas that need water, invest in water development in such a way that you cure the necessity for water when drought comes. So we've learned now to invest in development rather than in dispensing with humanitarian interventions. I don't know whether that answers your question, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much, Dr. John Kabayo, for that comprehensive explanation. Mr. Jamal Ali, Dr. John Kabayo talks about preparedness, and he speaks with a lot of confidence that droughts will recur. What are some of the community level initiatives that, or community level lessons that have been learned that can be scaled regionally?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. As a ground level practitioner, I can tell you about IDRISI in Ethiopia, what we have been achieved in Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, IDRISI is working in 5 regions: Afar, Somali, parts of Oromia, South Ethiopia, and Southwest Ethiopia. So in these regions, as you know, the regions are located in the lowlands of Ethiopia, which is naturally dry area. Using IDRISI, we start from developing water resource in those areas. When we are starting on implementation of water resource development, the first thing we have done in that area is just mapping the existing water schemes. The existing water schemes are mapped because the community were using some source of water. So we start from rehabilitating those existing water schemes. Then we identify the resource in the area. As everybody knows, the areas were marginalized as compared to the central part of Ethiopia and the highland part of Ethiopia. So that identification of the resource in that area was the paramount important to that area. We have identified the resource of water. In some areas, there is abundant underground water resource. In some areas, there is no underground water resource. So accordingly, we harvest surface water in some areas. We harvest water from rivers. And that was the primary objective of IDRISI in Ethiopia was we have, IDRISI, as you know, has 7 pillars. Ethiopia is working in the first 3 or 4. The first one was natural resource management. Under natural resource management, water is the key, and the share budget which was played at that time was given to natural resource management. Water development is one. And in the first phase of drought resilience and sustainability initiative, which was known in Ethiopia as DRSLP, drought resilience and sustainable management. In that case, we have developed 59 boreholes, which is maybe very very great achievement. But it's not only the RSLP which is functioning in that area now. In the areas, there are huge investment by the government, by different donors like RPLRP, which was funded by World Bank, SDR, which was funded by KfW, and even LLRP, which is even bigger than all the projects. Now the investment in the area is very huge, but the interest in the area for the investment is yet there is a gap to be filled. In the area, what we have learned was the community, it was open grazing area. Now on the rangeland management issue, we practiced both rain-fed fodder production, rangeland management, rain-fed fodder production and irrigated fodder production. The irrigated fodder production was started in Afar, particularly in the area of Ataye River. We have started in that area, and we have taken that practice to southern Ethiopia, which is now probably considered to be the largest area in irrigated fodder production. It's not, the practice was not limited to only irrigated fodder production. It was, in Oromia area, in Borana, in the Guji area, the waters are running in the gorge. So there is no irrigated fodder production. There is no accessibility for irrigated fodder production. So that rain-fed fodder production was an exemplary in Ígad regions. In those areas, we closed the rangeland, cleared the bush and the invasive weeds, and we developed rain-fed fodder in that area. It's not only, the practice in Ethiopia is not only that one. It's not only developing the rangeland, the pasture. It's only the way of preservation was done very well. We have different big stores in these different regions, in all regions, to preserve feed for drought scenario. In drought scenario, which was in previously, the way we are using in Ethiopia was to transport the hay from highland to the lowland, but now the practice is changed already. The lowlanders can at least are said to be self-sufficient now for their, if there is a problem in some areas, we can transport from one warada to the other, or from one lowland region to the other lowland region. It's not, I think, it's not yet necessary to transport it from the highland, unless otherwise maybe the magnitude is by far larger. So the high investment, but there is also another lessons learned from the community in that area. Especially what we have learned from the community was how to use the water pointers, the water point management. Like in Borana area, there is an ELA system. ELA is the water point they used to use traditionally. And the way they manage was something to be scaled up for sustainability of the project. And the other one is the Kalo system, which is already, the Kalo system is also in Borana area. The traditional way of managing grazing lands, managing the range, their range. In that area, in this area of pastoral and agro-pastoral parts of Ethiopia, they have two grazing lands, like traditionally, wet season grazing, two season grazing land, wet season grazing land, and dry season grazing land. In that, they manage to preserve their pasture for dry season. And there is a criteria by which they select wet season grazing land and dry season grazing land. I think that has to be taken into consideration, even to be scaled up in the East Africa. And the rain-fed, which was, Mr. Kabayo may remember that Ethiopia was an exemplary in using rain-fed pasture from the lowland area, directly from that lowland area, simply by inducing some very minimal resources. So this is what I want to share. I don't know if I fully answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Jamal Ali, on the clear success projects that Ethiopia has led in rangeland and natural resource management. Next is Dr. Dereje. How can accurate climate information and early warning systems be effectively integrated into national policies and local decision making?
Thank you very much, Austin. My two colleagues have provided a elaborate example based on their experience. There's two who have been acting both at a regional level as well as also national level. Let me take you back a little bit because we have to very much contextualize in terms of geographies that we are talking, in terms of also communities that we are talking today. We are talking about drought resilience in the Horn of Africa. Because of the nature, we have a region called ASALs, arid and semi-arid land. Or it's called lowland in Ethiopia. It has different name. But centrally, that's the dry land of Horn of Africa, which covers 70% of the land, where rainfall is naturally lower, not so conducive for crop farming. And it's an opportunistic business, and livelihood is largely on livestock. What I wanted to emphasize here is also, this is the area that is unfortunately highly affected by climate change. We see a very much climate variability in that area. Heat is higher as compared to the average. The rainfall pattern is continuously shifting. So that's the area that we are talking. In that context, what do people do? Let's focus on livestock. They rear animal in extensive system where they move from place to place based on season to access forage and water because sedentary life is not that appreciated. They also do opportunistic crop farming. When the rain allow, depending on the context, they also farm. And both need anticipation, both need planning based on the availability of information on climate and the weather, because it's affected accordingly. On that aspect, I can highlight few issues, how decision and getting information about climate helps them. For example, if the dry season is longer, if they are rearing animal, they might take some of their animal to market and sell them so that they keep money or use that money for another purpose. If they know that the coming 2 seasons are better, they could also buy 2, 3 goats, 4 goats into their herd so that they opportunistically get sufficient income from what they are doing as a business. If the rainfall is so high, it might trigger some animal disease like Rift Valley fever. If that information reaches, they could do vaccination, they could do other treatments or request the support of veterinarian. In agriculture, it's similar. Naturally, it's a very low rainfall area, means if the rain is not that good, they will select which crop they will plant. If the rain is so down, maybe they go for millet, which can produce in very low rainfall situation. If it is better, they can go for like corn. So income from that business will be varied. That is how they are daily affected in terms of climate information. What do we have in the region? What do we have at the country level? The source of information about the status of climate is one. In the region is Íغad Climate Prediction and Application Center called ICPAC, which provides prediction of 3 months, 2 months, 1 month at a regional scale, which is very much granular. And that will give how the climate look like, and that advisory has to reach the consumer. Below that is also a lot of capacity building at the national level. National METs will cascade. You can imagine what you get at regional level is so granular. And that information has to be a little bit contextualized at the national level. There's a continuous capacity building by ICPAC and other actors for the national Mets. And some of our national Mets are really capable to provide that information. So, two issues that have I raised. There is an unprecedented climate change. There is information. So how there are people that need to decide on their daily life. So how will that information reach to the people? And that's where communication comes. And in communication, the climate people give you information, but the sectorals should interpret and provide advice. The animal disease situation, the feed situation, the crop situation, there are technical people who can interpret and provide advice. Now from that is the communication people will take and give that information to the ultimate users. So the journey is very long, but what are the barriers now? There are barriers in terms of coverage. There are barriers in terms of language. There are barriers in terms of trust. There are barriers also. You can see how the information is working. It might misinterpret at certain points. And these are the things that we need to improve, because climate information in this era is key for your livelihood, for your life, for your economy. I think that's what I want to say. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dereje. And a round of applause for that comprehensive background on the ASAL areas in the region. Dr. Dereje poses a question to the communication efforts in the region to interpret this data. So I'll move straight to you to respond to this. Mr. Zelalem, how can communication and storytelling bridge the gap between technical data and public understanding to influence attitudes and policy action?
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for that brief introduction of myself. And I want to say a few words about the organization and the media I represent. So I'm a journalist at Pulse of Africa, POA. So Pulse of Africa is a Pan-African media organization, a continental media organization established here in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. And the major objective of Pulse of Africa is to voice the voice of Africa, to amplify the concerns of Africa, the challenges and prospects of Africa. And thank you. Coming to your question, media can play indispensable role in serving as a bridge between technical data and the public understanding. So there is a data on one side, data maybe from policymakers, from government officials, from researchers, from scientists, and there are people, there are communities obviously thirsty, hungered of information and data. So media can serve as a bridge between the two. Media can serve to connect the community to the data, to the information. So the role of media in climate resilience activity, in climate resilience effort can never be overestimated. So the media has demonstrated its relevance, its role in climate mitigation activities. Media, for example, in Eégad member states, media in Ethiopia, media in Kenya, Somalia, South Sudan, Djibouti, and Uganda and other member states of Eégad are, making great effort to make sure that the people are aware of the impact of climate change. For example, if you assess the state of media in Ethiopia, Ethiopia media, all platforms, radio, television, newspaper, and digital media as well, are, awareing the community, awareing and educating, teaching the people about the impact of climate change and the outcome of Ethiopia media advocacy on climate change and the impact of climate disaster is immense. For example, Ethiopia, like you heard in the morning from State Minister of Development and Planning, His Excellency C.U. Makonnen, Ethiopia has been able to plant, for example, more than 48 billion trees over the past 7 years. And that is the result of the media campaign. Ethiopia media, from community radio to
state media, big state media organizations, television stations and radio stations are very much devoted to climate change impacts and resilience activities. Media in other countries of IGAD, for example, in Kenya, media, radio and digital media have played an important role in flood risks. You know, the media in Kenya through security alerts, through disseminating information related with flood alerts and other information are able to aware the people of Kenya to mitigate the impact of flooding. So the media in all member states of IGAD, the media, for example, in South Sudan. In South Sudan, the media has assisted the people of South Sudan to come to peace through by serving as a platform, as a forum for discussion. You know, the media in South Sudan, the popular media, of course, in South Sudan is radio. The radio, you know, has tried to be voice for different political groups in South Sudan, and that has helped to bring peace in Sudan. Because it all starts with peace. Without peace, we cannot talk about anything. So media in South Sudan has played immense role in bringing peace and sustainable peace in the country. So the role of media in IGAD member states is huge, and you know, the role of media in connecting the people with information is huge. For example, showcasing the stories of communities who have you know, showed resilience, who have demonstrated resilience in the face of climate change, climate disaster adversities like drought, flooding, desertification, and other climate-induced challenge, can be a role model, can serve as a powerful role model for communities, showcasing the stories of the communities that have successfully embraced innovation, new media technology, can motivate, can inspire millions of people in the region to do the same. So the role of the media in climate resilience activity is huge, but obviously there are problems and there are challenges and limitations to the media's role in climate resilience activity. And one of the limitations here is, you know, the media is very much focused in disaster at the happen. You know, that shows that the media are reactive than being proactive. So the media need to be proactive. For example, whenever there is flooding or whenever there is a drought, the media from regional to international media organizations may go to the field and may report about that immediate disaster or aftermath of that immediate disaster, but they don't continuously and consistently report about those climate-induced challenges. So there are limitations, but we have witnessed that media in IGAD member states are playing their indispensable role in climate resilience efforts. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, Mr. Zelal, before you give away your microphone, you've clearly stated the role of the media in climate resilience. What are some of the opportunities missed, or what are some of the exact challenges, and how can we overcome them? For example, are there capacity building challenges in the region? Are there funding challenges? Because in the room, I understand today we have people from the Climate Prediction Center. We also have we have key decision makers in the room. So I think perhaps airing these concerns would provide a platform for us to openly discuss and see and try find opportunities to support the media in playing this huge role, as you've already explained. So what are some of the opportunities and challenges, then how can we overcome the challenges?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for that beautiful question. I mean, media has obviously faced great challenge in terms of covering stories of climate change. As a media, we are grappling with enormous challenge. And one of the challenges, of course, knowledge and skill in covering those stories. For example, as a journalist, we are very much exposed to the stories of economy, Hello? 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Yes, like I said, the media is grappling with numerous challenges in terms of covering stories of climate change and climate change disasters. The media are exposed to, for example, stories of politics, stories of current affairs, stories of business and economies. But we do have a lack of information and lack of knowledge in terms of climate. Our knowledge towards climate is very much limited. So we need to have a knowledge, we need to have abundant and necessary knowledge that help us to cover the stories of climate change in a very professional manner, in a knowledge-based manner. And that's the first limitation. And the other limitation is, of course, related with finance. The media industry needs a huge finance to move around and to capture stories of climate change, to capture success stories of climate mitigation activities, and to go and to report the disaster that follows the climate change problem. So we need finance. So finance is the other problem. So there are enormous problems, but there are opportunities as well. And the opportunities are basically from the new media technology, and now mobile platforms, social media platforms, and artificial intelligence by itself offered a huge opportunity for media professionals. For example, by utilizing artificial intelligence, we can predict the weather of the next week. So if we can spread and if we can disseminate information about the weather for farmers, and farmers can obviously use that information to adjust their farming system according to the weather system. For example, if the weather of the next week is rainy, and if we disseminate that information, and the farmers can use that information, for example, maybe to harvest the crop before it's devastated by flooding. So there are opportunities and there are challenges, and the media professionals need to discharge our responsibilities, I would say. And the Horn of Africa and the Greater Eastern Africa is very much prone to climate-induced problems. And we have already seen the recurrent droughts that affected countries of Ígad like Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, and other countries of Ígad. And we have also seen how drought affected millions of people in South Sudan. And we have seen how sea level rise affected regions in the coastal areas of the Horn of Africa. So the Horn of Africa, the Greater Eastern Africa, is very much exposed to climate-induced problems, and we need to pay attention to such kinds of problems of the society, and we need to help the society to mitigate to such climate change problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dr. Dereje, just to come back to you real quick. Currently, the global financing landscape is shrinking. What innovative financing and partnership models have proven to be effective in sustaining drought resilience across Ígad member states?
Thank you, Austin, for that question. I just want to a little bit again elaborate from the discussion we had, that from what we have been discussing, drought resilience is not about building a water dam and leave it like that. It has a lot of interconnected issues. You have seen how information is powerful for people to act at the ground level. In terms of financing, what is this financing? It is preparing yourself for the event of drought so that you absorb the shock. And that requires action at every level. Start from the communities themselves, get that information, do your bit so that you try to address the challenge that is coming in selection of breed, in selling your animal on time, in restocking your animal on time, in preparing your animal for dry season. You know, if you have an animal that is sick, that is very weak, you cannot take it through the dry season. You have to do the veterinary necessary things, that vaccination and treatment and deworming and prepare. So there is an action that you have to do at a grassroots level, and you can't undermine. If you add up all that together, it's a millions. The other level is government. Now, as a government, we do development. But we also do in the lens of climate change, so that the infrastructure we are building is looking at how climate change will affect it, how this infrastructure supports community in case of extreme climate. And that government is coming and investing from taxpayers' money directly from the main regular funding, or they go to financing from the big banks. And I can give you an example. Some of the countries in this region boldly taken action, like Ethiopia, Kenya, huge investment in terms of drought resilience. Reason being, the area is so broad, so big, it has been marginalized for long, and it needs continuous such investment. The third level is, I can just generalize as global funding that come from either bilateral, from developing countries, developed countries, or also climate financing. But each of these has a different level of contribution. We need, if we to be successful, we need climate information that needs investment. We need infrastructure, supportive policy to respond and support drought resilience. We need also equally the information to reach the last mile. That is also an investment by itself and require resource. It is not only building infrastructure, but preparing, because the huge investment is done by communities themselves, and we shouldn't undermine that. And the private sector, how the private sector, you know, when drought happens, we often transport feed from hundreds of kilometers, which is not economical. Can we support our private sector so that they position production of animal feed in that area so that it is accessible? Is that possible to position private sector? Take animal from market. When people are desperate and sell, there is no buyer. We need to have a mechanism by which a private sector can buy those animals, finish, and avail on market. There are a lot of areas where private sector, just by doing their own business, can support. So in general, what I wanted to say is, it is not like one narrow area that we need to focus. We need to focus on broader areas to address this complex problem. Yes, at a global level, the funding is getting narrow, not getting narrow, complex and complex. But we will never lose hope. There are also other hopes, like the UNCCD, United Nations Convention on Climate Change and Desertification, have now focused on drought resilience in the coming years. There are resources that are there. Accessing it's another issue. But given this is one of the regions that's highly affected by climate, given that this is a region that insignificantly contributing to climate change, we keep advocates a resource to come to this region, but without sitting and waiting. There is a requirement, double effort from the communities themselves and the government and the private sector in this region. Because, you know, if you are an exporter of live animal or meat, if you do your business and respond to the climate information and support off-taking, you have contributed to drought resilience. So that's, it's a broader issue that we need to consider. It's not like a narrow, we look for resource for infrastructure investment. The catchment is broader. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dereje, for that explanation. Now, on to the last question, and this goes to all the panelists. How can the IGAD region collectively build on the lessons of Idrisi to create a future where resilience is not just a response, but a way of life? And I'll start with Dr. John Kabaya.
Thank you very much, one moderator. The lessons from Idrisi are many, but one particular aspect of Idrisi that I believe is an important lesson is acting as a region, not acting as individual countries. We've seen the beauty, the merits, the advantage of existing as a region, from sharing examples from and lessons, and also from accessing funds such as the regional window funds that are available in many banks, which are not available if you approach those as individual countries. But also existing in a region where there's a lot to learn. I take, for example, the inspiring example of the Great Renaissance Dam by the Ethiopians. This example is a major example in the region. First of all, telling us how funding can be organized. I'm aware that the government looked for funds all over the world and it was not possible, but so they reverted to their own population, and that's how successful it was. So those types of inspiring examples are available to us to study as a region and to work together as a region. In other words, salvation is not from abroad, but from within us. And the more connected and united we are, the more resilient we will be. The other example that we can learn from Idrisi is really the strategy, the way it was designed and the way it has been implemented. We brought together the experts in the region to study our ecological circumstances and study proposals on what can make our region improve. We realize that this region is not the only one that suffers from drought in the whole world, and yet we seem to be the most vulnerable. And our experts designed a strategy, Idrisi's strategy, which is now being implemented. After it was designed as a region, it was taken to countries, and countries then designed their own method of how to implement a regional strategy by designing what we call country programming papers. The country programming papers are the country's own reflections on how they are going to meet the objectives decided as a region and move forward. I'm aware that if a decision is made as a region, it becomes more compelling to the individual countries. So it's a good example to work from after a collective decision has been made. We also have another paper called the Regional Programming Paper, which is a collection of activities that cannot be done by individual countries alone, but need to be worked as a region. For example, policies that need to be passed concerning diseases or cross-border areas that can't be developed by individual countries and so on. So these types of gaps were there in our history. There were not many cross-border areas remained undeveloped because individual countries didn't know how to develop shared areas. And it's actually with the advent of Idrisi that proposals arose which required a regional approach and clearly a study from Idrisi. So those are the few examples I give my colleagues that we have.
Thank you. Mr. Jamal, how can the IGAD region collectively build on the lessons of Idrisi to create a future where resilience is not just a response to drought, but a way of life?
Thank you again. The motto of Idrisi was think regionally and act locally. We need to think regionally because the problem is regional projects. It's not belongs to the individual countries. Idrisi as a regional initiative bring the neighboring countries together. This not without case. The idea is that these people in the neighboring countries shares not only the social norms, religion and culture, they also share resources. Because the boundary we made is political boundary only. But the pastoralists, as we know, the pastoralists, they didn't know that political boundary. They are crossing whenever there is resources in the other country. So that we need to act together. These sharing resources, they used to cross boundaries, those political boundaries, for searching in resources. This is also a source of conflict if we are not working together. Say, for example, if Ethiopia have developed some dam around the border of the neighboring country, if Somali doesn't have the water resource in their area, they cross the border, and that is also a source of conflict. So at least I think the idea was to think regionally and to act locally. Everybody has to act for himself. The other thing is, using the Idrisi platform, the countries are coming together and discuss together. They share experience from country to country. In recent months, before 2 months, we had a visitors, guests from 7 Ígad countries to Ethiopia. We see locally, we didn't appreciate our culture, but they have appreciated a lot because there are different new structures that they didn't know in their country. They have taken design, BOQ, we have given them to the extent of sharing our BOQ to those countries. They appreciate the way we are reserving water, underground water storage structures, which is familiar in Afar area, and now familiar in all lowland areas of Ethiopia. The cistern we have constructed, they were appreciating those structures. Everything, probably the smartness of any initiative on the ground is its replicability. When we are starting Idrisi, we were not imagining that this is replicated in all regions. Now in Ethiopia, in all regions, in 5 regions, almost all the activities we share from one region to the other region is shared all over across the lowlands of Ethiopia. And even by creating the platform for all countries, we are coming together, discussing on the implementation issue. It's not on the implementation issue, a detail to the activity issue. So we are learning different lessons from different countries. So in that case, I think the existence of the platform Idrisi is helpful to uniformly grow, because if the country grow alone, that could be, as I have said, that could be a source of conflict. So in that case, people now has taken the issue. It's not the way of drought resistant, is at the way of life. As I have told you, the rangeland system, which was practiced in Borona area, the Kalo system, was taken from that community and implemented across Ethiopian lowlands. By now, it has taken even to the other countries. All have been there. We have visited in the South Ethiopia and Borona area with Ígad member countries. There are many uptakes that has taken from Ethiopia to the others. And the same is, we have done the same. We have visited Kenya, and we have taken some new experience that we are not experiencing in Ethiopia, bring it to our country and implement it here. So that working together, having at least that psychology of working together is very important for regional stability. That's what I think of Idrisi. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Dereje?
Thank you, Austin. I think my colleagues have exhausted. I don't want to repeat what they have said. I wanted to highlight one issue, what we can get inspiration from Idrissi. Working together as a region, you know, when we bring these experts and high-level officials from the region on this topic, there was really self-reinforcing, learning from each other, also putting each other under peer pressure, and that has helped. What I want to emphasize again is when we hit by climate change in this region, we hit in a different ways. As we sit now, northeastern Somalia, eastern part of Ethiopia are affected by drought. If you go to Uganda and some part of western Kenya, the rain is above average. It means there is sufficient production. We need to look how we smoothen trade across the region, because there will be a bump harvest in one side of the region, there will be a deficit on another, that has to go through trade. We really need to look at easing trade across the region, so that that's also one way of preparing ourselves, and that we are not looking somewhere else. I just want to add this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zilala?
All right, thank you. Let me briefly address this one. Much has been said in this regard. I want to emphasize on the necessity of cooperation and collaboration between and among countries of Ígad. Cooperation is very vital for the region. I mean, the destiny of countries of Eastern Africa is the same. For example, a few years ago, there was a kind of locust outbreak, and that outbreak started somewhere, and it eventually spread to different countries of Eastern Africa, such as Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, and other countries of the region. We need to cooperate, and that's not for the sake of collaboration, for the sake of the word, but that's very much imperative. Our destiny is the same. Collaboration and cooperation is very vital, and cooperation is also vital for stakeholders like researchers, policymakers, governmental and non-governmental organization, development partners, and so on. They need to work together, and media should serve as a forum, a platform by which different stakeholders work on. Media should serve as a forum where, for example, researchers disseminate their findings to the public. Media should serve as a platform and a forum where by policymakers and officials disseminate information. Media should serve as a forum by which communities share their best experiences. I want to emphasize on the imperatives and the necessities of working together. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A round of applause to the panelists. So for the next 15 minutes or 5 minutes, we will open this session for questions and answers. If you have any question, please raise your hand. Ashes, if you could please help us pass the mic around.
Firstly, thank you so much for a rich but extremely crucial discussion. And my question is, with COP30 coming to a close just last week and looking ahead at COP31 in Turkey and the one we're all excited about, COP32 here in Ethiopia, there's a big drive towards action and local solutions that can scale. So my question is, how is Idrissi working to create structures which keep its member countries accountable to action, but also to be able to share these scalable local solutions, not just within the country, but across this network of Idrissi? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have another question? Yes. Please start with your name and where you're from, and your role as well.
I am Wambi Michael. I'm a journalist from Uganda. I thank the panelists. Listening from them, you would wish to see that we don't have any of our peoples dying of famine or their cattle dying of drought. The technologies seem to be there. But why is it that these technologies are not reaching the actual person, the last minute person? From my experience, yes, we have all these technologies. But when you go down there, when you see somebody losing his sheep, you feel like, okay, why would this sheep die in this era and age? And indeed, ICPAC has done very good work in terms of climate prediction. And some of this information actually comes down. But when it reaches the Met services, then you begin having problems. The Met services don't have money to translate this information down to the actionable points. Maybe speaking from Uganda, the Met service has just been downgraded from a bigger position to a lower position. And that shows how relevant is the Met services if we are to put together the aspect of Idrisi work. And from my friend, the journalist, I'm sorry to tell you the truth from Uganda. I've been around in the media for some time. Like science, communication is also a science. And I'm sorry to say that we are not skilled to communicate your science until you break it down to our language. So you tend to speak your language, and the journalists are also speaking their language. And in the end, we are not speaking the same language, and that is being translated down to the communities. I can tell you the truth is that the journalists we have on the ground cannot communicate science. And that is why, if I were you, maybe I'll look at how the communication aspect has worked over the years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. One last gentleman from the other end.
Firstly, I want to thank the panelists for the information given, and I would like to say thank you for the opportunity firstly. My name is Mohammed Ismail, an Ethiopian student and a content creator as well in the country of Ethiopia. And I have a point that I want to start from so that it justifies and gives context about my question. I would like to start from the point mentioned earlier by the panelists that resilience is not a response but a way of life. If I'm not mistaken, if I heard correctly, I believe this will only be true if the youth are actually involved. And therefore, the youth in Africa are the main part of its development and growth. Generations teach generations, and right now as youth, we are mostly observing theoretically, learning but not participating. We're just learning theoretically, but we're not participating, implementing, or finding the right adopters to our points. Young people influence their peers. I influence the ones that are in my age. And if us as youth are not included, then, or if we're not given a chance, or even taken seriously as content creators, this could become a liability for Africa and African youth, making us more vulnerable as Africans, and we don't want that for our nations and continent. Therefore, my first question to the panelists will be, given that East African countries are mostly youth-based and Ethiopia's national development policies increasingly focus on youth empowerment, what are Idrisi's plans to directly engage and empower the youth and ensure that we have a legacy for the generation after us to follow? My second question is for the respected gentleman, Mr. Zalalam from Pulse of Africa. Since you are a respected professional in the field of journalism, I would like to ask you, as a content creator, as content creators, we can amplify initiative, reach our peers, and create practical impact. What are Idrisi's plans to achieve collaborate with to actively collaborate with youth content creators like us to promote and support your project instead of us just observing from the sidelines and being just part that listen and does not implement anything. And after this, I would like to thank you again for giving me the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Your name and where you come from?
My name is Mohammed Ismail. I am a freshman student in the New Generation University, and I'm also a content creator as well.
Thank you. The gentleman over here, you can you repeat your question? Just briefly.
Yes, thank you very much. So, yeah, my name is Ledama Masita from Kenya, CNN Academy, but also founder of the Local and Indigenous Food System Transformation Network. And my question was, what structures or how is IDRISI working to keep its country members accountable to action, but also to share scalable local solutions across the region?
Thank you. There's a request for a last question, and we will close the Q&A session.
Thank you, Austin. My name is Jamila Mohammed. I'm a journalist from Kenya. I'm one of the nominees. My question is to everyone on the panel. You mentioned that drought used to happen every 10 years, but now it's more regular. You talked about how rains are failing in some parts of this region. Yesterday, I watched a story about how drought is affecting people in Somalia, where they're being forced to flee their homes to come to Mogadishu and live in camps, and things are not any better. And I'm thinking in this day and age, with early warning and technology, why can't we do better in terms of predicting the weather patterns so we know the rains are going to fail, so we can start advising governments to take action earlier instead of seeing what we are seeing now, where people are struggling and having to leave their homes and move to the cities where it's not any better because cities are already congested. So what's the role of technology, early warnings, to try and alleviate the suffering that we're seeing that people are going through now in this day and age, where we can be able to predict these weather patterns? Thank you.
Thank you, Jamila. So I'll give our panelists a chance to respond to the questions. And the first question on structures in place for accountability, I'll give it to Dr. John Kabayo, stemming from his experience with this initiative.
Thank you very much for the question, and thank you, moderator. Indeed, IDRISI, one of its particular design is actually accountability from the way it is designed. Every project that is implemented has an M&E protocol. All the stages of the project that's being implemented are followed and reported upon. This was after realization that many of the government projects were not monitored and followed and reported on and so on. We wanted IDRISI to start on a different page, and so that's it's incorporated in the system of IDRISI. Every project is monitored throughout. In fact, it has 3 different ways of monitoring. We monitor a project's mid-term, and then we assess its end, but all the project steps are monitored and reported on, so that part. Plus, we also have frequent meetings of the authorities, the owners of the project. For example, there is a steering committee which is at the level of permanent secretary or technicians, technical people at that level, which are regular, at least 6 months, I think every 6 months. Then there is a General Assembly, which is a ministerial, and even a summit. So the authorities are aware of what is going on, and the reporting structure and the format of reporting is aware. It keeps very strong emphasis on monitoring. So accountability is a central feature of the IDRISI projects. I don't know whether that gets you, but you are assured there will be more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. John Kabayo, for responding to that and being very brief. The other question was on technology. I'll bring up Jamila and my colleague from Uganda. Why is this technology, or rather climate information, not reaching people on the ground, and also the dwindling support for med services as explained? And I'll forward this to Dr. Dereja.
Thank you, Austin, again. Let me touch a couple of questions that I have received on different areas, just to give my view as well as also the reality. On COP and COP participation, and then also Ethiopia hosting COP 32, what are we doing, in short? And what have we done in the past? COP is a very complex arrangement, to tell you the fact, that the negotiations are by states. You can have your side event and talk about what you are doing, but the main decision and the main context is within member state. Eğad has been doing before every COP, bringing together the COP focal ministries to discuss the regional issues so that they will reflect as a region some kind of position. I hope ICPAC people should have been here, should have elaborated on this, but I knew in the past that's how it is happening. At least we have some kind of our voice from this region, because Eğad is pre-preparing. If you go to COP, disintegrated country by country, you will not have even the same position and either to support or oppose some of the views that affect you. There is an attempt at that level, and looking forward also Turkey, and especially the opportunity in Ethiopia, here at home, to demonstrate what we have done, as well as also, show that how we have been affected and what is needed. There are other COPs also. COPs are different. There is one on UNCCD now, very much focusing on drought resilience. At Eğad, we wanted to also voice the concern of this region, but also share what we have done on drought resilience in the past 10 years and where we wanted to be and what kind of support we want. At least we have that mechanism, just to give you an example. There's a question of, there's a technically there are solutions, but it's not reaching where it has to be. It's as complex as it is. Our information is fragmented. Everybody is acting. We live in that, but we are continuously fine-tuning. For many years, we have been creating information and leave it on the website. And the millions, they don't know even the website, whether the website is existing. We are trying to reach by media, and the science of climate itself, it's a likelihood. You will tell that the climate will look like this with likelihood. So the science itself is really the one which you have to closely watch. The information you released about what will happen in the coming 2 months, you need to closely monitor and provide that information as you close to the region. We are, as human beings, we are so good to tell about the story of the past. This was how the climate looked like. Today it looked like this. It's so easy. The most difficult part for us is looking forward. And it's a science you will understand for me. As we said, climate information, we cannot say that. We need to keep refining, keep looking, what are the changes that come in, and that information really rich. And that's one of the challenge areas that I wanted to share. With regard to use, a very valid concern, a huge population. Everybody wants the use to be part of the business. It's not only destructive, but also constructive. At Idrisi level, Ato Jamal will attest that at ground level, there are social focus, interventions that to support youth, intervention to support women, and so and so. But we want also use much more than that, give their voice. It is highly affecting than me, because I have done half of my life. And they have to be part of the dialogue in all level. And I wish that is the thing that we have to take from this discussion. It's the right thing. It's not like, you'd have to be beneficiary. No, they have to be part of the conversation. They have to be part of the solution. They have to also play their part. Everybody has to take note of it. The accountability of the countries, Dr. Caballo has mentioned, accountability as it accountability. We really work at different level with different entities. Accountability is largely at the national level. What we create is peer pressure. And you understand also, out of the 8 countries or 7 countries in this region, you cannot talk about serious development when security is in question. And you can imagine the amount of resources that goes to that direction in countries like Somalia. The preparedness, the level of investment cannot match what others can do. But stable countries, we should really keep talking about. Drought is with us. We should always work towards building, absorbing capacity, and national budget allocation should be scrutinized. How much is going to prepare us? Have we done sufficient? Because accountability is at a national level. At Parliament, there is so much so you can do as a regional entity. Accountability is the society, accountability is the Parliament, accountability is all across. So we play our part, but the biggest accountability is at the national level. The challenge we have, countries like Sudan, South Sudan, countries like Somalia, the levels of investment on drought resilience is not that level, because you will understand why. And you see countries like Kenya, they have done best. Uganda, if you take northern Kenya, I've been part of it. They have transformed in terms of infrastructure. Respond will be easier. They have invested in water infrastructure. You will not see that level of investment in the countries that I've mentioned. So yeah, that's an example of Somalia as it current. That's a reflection. You cannot outsource development to other parties. It's only government and the society, when they are at the center, change will come. Yes, we have been getting international support. Not at all. It's the government, the people have to be in business, and they couldn't be in that business because of a lot of destructive. A failed state now is grappling to have a substantial governance system in place, and that has affected. And at any time, we will be highly vulnerable in Somalia compared to other countries because of that context. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dereje. A round of applause to our panelists. There are 2 questions, and when I was going through the agenda, I realized those questions will be better responded to in the next panel session, which will be led by ICPAC, and the panel session title will be Youth, Media, and Climate Action, Communicating Early Warning Information in the Ígad region. So be sure to be here on time. We'll start at exactly 2:10. We'll start at exactly 2:10. So my colleague from Ethiopia and Jamila and my colleague from Uganda, let's be here early enough to listen to what ICPAC has to say in terms of climate information dissemination. Thank you very much. Bon appetit.
Hello again, viewers. We hope that you have watched the panelists as they conducted it exactly at Skylight Hotel in Addis Ababa. Well, of course, youth, media, and climate action, communicating early warning information in the Ígad region was, of course, the theme. Interesting things have been mentioned, and of course, the panelists have said a lot of important things. For instance, the fact that this drought, for example, or disasters in general, must be addressed in a way that is proactive rather than reactive. In the past years, of course, these IGAD member countries have been very much have been dealing with disasters in a way that is reactive, and as of 2011, IGAD member countries just converged, and they, of course, agreed that disasters need to be addressed in a way that is proactive, so in a way that they never did it before. And as of then, 2011, the approach of dealing with disasters has changed a lot, and as a result, positive outcomes have been observed with regard to addressing disasters, climate change, agricultural practices, etc. So we can see that these panelists have stressed the fact that IGAD member countries need to come together. When they have policies, for instance, they need to ensure that these policies are agreed upon by member states rather than implemented by specific or each particular country. Because if we take the border, for example, at the border, these countries share resources, and one example is the one that happens between and amongst these farmers or pastoralists that have, just cattle. They fight over grazing land, they fight over water, and when they fight, of course, conflict comes, and that is destructive. And these nations, need to come together and deal with these matters.
عدنا إليكم مشاهدينا بعد متابعتنا من حفل جوائز الإيغاد، والتي كانت تدور حلقة نقاش، والتي كانت بعنوان من الأزمة إلى القدرة. طبعا طرحت الكثير من النقاشات والنقاط المهمة، وكان هنالك تفاعل من المشاركين أيضا، وكانت من أهمها أصل المبادرة أو متى كانت، وهي التي كانت في 2011 وجاءت بقرار جماعي تاريخي يساعد في غادة الممر. وأيضا الهدف كان من هذه التعامل مع الظروف القياسية الصعبة بطريقة مختلفة. وأيضا كانت هنالك طريقة التعامل القديمة مع الجفاف. عندما نرى الطريقة القديمة للتعامل مع الجفاف، كانت الدول تنتظر وقوع الجفاف أو تنتظر وقوع الحادث حتى تتحرك أو تعطي ردة الفعل، وهذه كانت أيضا من النقاط التي تم مناقشتها في حلقة النقاش. وطبعا النتيجة كانت انتظار حدوث الكوارث، كان الناس يضطرون لمغادرة منازلهم، وتكون هنالك تدخلات متأخرة جدا. وأيضا من الأشياء التي تم مناقشتها هو دور الصحافة والإعلام بالأخص التي تدعمها الإيغاد في التدخل أو مكافحة هذه الحوادث المناخية. طبعا الدور الجوهري الذي يلعبه الإعلام كجسر، تم أيضا كشف أو التحدث عن الإعلام، أي أنه يعمل كجسر بين العلماء وبين الخبراء، وأيضا بين المجتمعات. العلماء ينتجون بيانات تقنية ومعقدة كمثل بيانات المناخ وغيره، والناس العاديون طبعا لا يمكنهم قراءتها أو فهمها، وهنا يأتي دور الإعلام. كانت هذه من أهم النقاط التي تم مناقشتها في ندوة الإيغاد في حفل جوائز الإيغاد التي تعقد في العاصمة الإثيوبية أديس أبابا بسكايلايت.
Well, viewers, a lot has been said, particularly in this panel, Youth, Media and Climate Action, communicating early warning information in the IGAD region. We're not done yet with reflecting what the panelists have said during this session. We'll back to you a little bit later. Until then, goodbye for now.
This is Africa, the cradle of humanity, the frontier of the future, a land of visionaries, creators and pioneers, a continent of unstoppable energy where innovation meets tradition, where voices rise, loud and fearless.
I am an African.
This is the heartbeat of 1 billion people, diverse, bold, united by a single purpose to tell our own stories in our own way. No borders, no barriers, no filters. A new era of African storytelling is here. From every corner of the continent, from the bustling cities to the quiet village, we tell Africa's story by Africans for the world. This is the land of a rising Africa, where Africa speaks and the world listens. This is why today we bring you POA, Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Back to you, viewers. Of course, the third Ígad Media Award is taking place, and the transmission is also coming to you, as it happens, from our studio and Skylight Hotel in Addis Ababa. Just to give you some highlights over what has taken place in the panel, well, I just would like to begin with what the panelists have said. Of course, the fact that this media house, the Ígad media houses need to be working together. They need to have a homogeneous policy with regard to addressing these kinds of undesirable situations in the Horn of Africa, such as disasters or climate change or anything that affects the livelihood of the population in the Horn of Africa. And one thing is mentioned, which is, of course, being proactive, not reactive, because in many cases, Horn of African countries have been reacting to disasters. Well, it's one good thing, but the fact that we need to be working before they happen is what has been emphasized during this panel. Of course, the other panelists have also said that we need to come together. We need to have policies that involve all of us, and these policies need to be agreed to by each member state. And when countries are dealing with disasters or climate change separately, they cannot be as successful. So this has been, of course, mentioned during this panel. The other thing was, of course, the role of media. Media plays a big role. Media is the fourth government. A lot has been said about the role media plays in everything that has to do with our daily lives. So when it comes to the Horn of Africa, and especially IGAD's mitigation of this climate change, disasters, etc., media plays a big role. It, of course, informs people before disasters take place, and that has, of course, proven to be a very good thing because, for example, when people have low rainfall, when they don't produce, of course, famine is likely to happen, and in many instances this was the case in the Horn of Africa, and during this time before worse effects happen, of course, IGAD has been informing the population so that people would take, precautions. This is, one thing, and the other thing is, of course, IGAD has also been training these media journalists, media houses, and this has helped a lot. Of course, a lot has to be done again in the vast areas of the Horn of African nations or states. There are places that don't have infrastructure or that don't have these, say, radios, televisions, so that it is very difficult to reach the people, the population, with information, especially with regard to climate action. So these farmers, for example, pastoralists, need to have some information about the climate, about the weather, before floods takes place, and all these have been, of course, properly addressed in many places by IGAD, but still a vast population, vast areas of IGAD member states need to be reached with these resources. Of course, other questions raised during this panel was that the challenges with regard to reaching the population with information. Of course, resources one constraint, and for example, journalists, they need to cover different places that are affected by, say, these disasters or these climate changes. Unfortunately, due to lack of finance, they cannot go to these places and then, do the coverage, and they cannot reach the people with this information. As a result, people remain uninformed about the possibility of any disaster around them. So as a result, of course, people have been affected. So these countries, member states of IGAD, need to come together. They need to mobilize their resources, and so they need to invest on enhancing media activities so that the population will be well informed about disasters before they happen. And when they happen, of course, the people need to know how to deal with the disasters, and this also has implications, financial implications. So if these countries work together, of course, they can mitigate this challenge. The other one is, of course, language barrier. That was mentioned to be one big problem because, well, English, for example, is a language for the science, and vernacular languages or speakers of vernacular languages find it difficult to understand what is in these climate data, in climate information. So even though meteorologies are available in many these Horn of African countries, then their contents need to be translated to suit the needs of the people in the Horn of Africa. And some examples from Uganda, for instance, were mentioned that show the effect of language barrier. And this shows that, of course, this language barrier need to be addressed by the people, by the population, by the stakeholders, by the government, by media houses, etc. And for this, trainings should be given. Maybe relevant stakeholders need to work together to address this challenge. So if young people, which is the other important point mentioned during this summit or this panel, was that young people, young people need to be involved in anything that has to do with climate, in anything that these IGAD member countries do in mitigating the effects of this climate or these disasters. And if young people are well trained, when they are well engaged, then it would be very easy for mitigating or for solving problems that arise from climate change or any disasters that are very common in the Horn of Africa.
نعم، عدنا إليكم طبعا مشاهدينا ومستمرين في تغطية حفل جوائز الإيغاد. وطبعا كما شاهدنا كانت هنالك حلقة نقاش بشعار أو من الأزمة إلى القدرة، وهي كيفية التعامل مع الأزمات. وكانت من أهم تلك النقاط التي تم التطرق إليها هي القدرة على الصمود ضد الجفاف في إفريقيا، وبصورة أخص لمنطقة الإيغاد. طبعا المناطق، طبعا هنالك عدة مناطق تتأثر بسبب الجفاف. الأراضي طبعا هنالك ما يعرف بالأراضي الجافة أو شبه الجافة، تعرف بالمناطق المنخفضة. طبعا هذه المناطق تشكل 70% وهي الأقل في الأمطار وغير مناسبة للمحاصيل، وكانت تلك من أهم النقاط أيضا التي تم الإشارة إليها. طبعا هنالك أيضا الظروف المناخية أيضا تم الإشارة إليها في حلقة النقاش. وطبعا هذه الأراضي تعتمد على الثروة الحيوانية بطريقة مكثفة جدا، وتتعرض لدرجات حرارة عالية وأيضا تغير في المناخ كما ذكرنا بسبب الأمطار، وأيضا الأمطار هذه التي تعتبر غير مستمرة. طبعا لذلك هنالك مناطق عدة في القرن الأفريقي تضررت بسبب التغير المناخي، وهذه طبعا من الأشياء التي تم التركيز عليها في حلقة النقاش. وأيضا ركزوا على الدور الإعلامي أو الجسر الذي يمكن أن يكونه الإعلام في ربط العلماء بين الخبراء وأيضا بين المجتمعات، لأن كما ذكرنا أن العلماء ينتجون بيانات معقدة جدا أو بطريقة تقنية معقدة مثل بيانات المناخ كما ذكرنا، والناس العاديون طبعا لا يمكنهم قراءتها أو فهمها بسهولة. وهنا طبعا تركز الإيغاد، لأن دور الإعلام يأتي هنا حيث أنه يترجم تلك البيانات بطريقة أو برسائل بسيطة أو تحذيرات مفهومة لعامة الشعب ونصائح طبعا قابلة للتطبيق. لذلك في حلقة النقاش تم التركيز على الإعلام أيضا، لأنه يلعب دور كبير في بناء الصمود المناخي، وأيضا أنه لا يمكن التقليل من شأنه.
Well, viewers, our correspondents are ready at Skylight Hotel. They are going to tell us about the event. I just would like to invite you to watch them.
Hello, I'm Tinsai Gabel, reporting from the Skylight Hotel here in Addis Ababa, where IGAD is hosting the 3rd edition of the IGAD Media Awards 2025, focused on storytelling for climate action. The two-day event brings together more than 400 journalists and media professionals from across the Horn of Africa. The goal, to highlight powerful storytelling that raises awareness about climate challenges and community resilience in the region. In the opening session, IGAD's mission chairperson, Ababayo Boholing, emphasized that the work of journalists, the pen, the microphone, and the camera is now a key driver pushing governments and communities to act on climate change. He also noted IGAD's growing role in peace, security, environment, and regional integration, calling it one of the region's strongest institutions for tackling climate issues. Today's panel discussions will be split into 4 sessions. The first panel, From Crisis to Capacity, led by IDDRSI, will explore how countries in the IGAD region are moving from crisis response to long-term capacity building. The second session will be on youth, media, and climate action, moderated by the ICPAC. Third session will follow on livestock and climate shocks, and finally wrapping up with session 4, Harnessing Technology for Climate Resilience. Our discussion will continue tomorrow with 2 more sessions followed by the Media Awards Gala in the evening. The awards ceremony will take place tomorrow evening, recognizing excellence across 10 categories, including print, radio, television, digital media, photography, and content creation. This is Pulse of Africa. Follow us for more updates.
أهلا مشاهدينا الكرام، تنطلق هنا في العاصمة الإثيوبية أديس أبابا في فندق سكايلايت فعاليات النسخة الثالثة من جوائز الإيغاد للإعلام لعام 2025 تحت شعار سرد القصص من أجل العمل المناخي لمنطقة آمنة ومرونة ومستقرة. هذه الجائزة تستمر يومين وتهدف إلى تكريم الصحفيين وصناع الأفلام الذين قدموا أعمالا مؤثرة حول تحديات المناخ وجهود التكيف في دول القرن الإفريقي. وفي كلمة الافتتاح شدد رئيس بعثة الإيغاد في إثيوبيا على أهمية توحيد الجهود في مواجهة التغير المناخي، مؤكدا أن دور الإعلام أصبح محوريا، والميكروفون والكاميرا باتت أدوات تدفع صناع القرار إلى التحرك في الوقت المناسب. النسخة الحالية تشهد مشاركات نحو 400 إعلامي من مختلف دول الإقليم بإشراف لجنة تحكيم تضم 21 خبيرا من عدة تخصصات، وتشمل الجوائز 10 فئات متنوعة من الصحافة المكتوبة والإذاعات والتلفزيون إلى إعلام رقمي وتصوير والتقارير باللغات الوطنية، إضافة إلى جوائز المؤثرين وصناع المحتوى. وخلال الافتتاح أيضا أكد وزير الدولة للتخطيط والتنمية في إثيوبيا سيوم مكونن أن إفريقيا يجب أن تقود روايتها الخاصة في قضايا المناخ، لا أن تكون مجرد متلق للسرديات الخارجية، مشددا على أهمية الإعلام الإفريقي في إبراز الأولويات ودعم مسار العدالة المناخية. وبعد الاستراحة تتواصل جلسات بمناقشات أوضاع الثروة الحيوانية في ظل الصدمات المناخية في القرن الإفريقي، تليها جلسة حول الابتكار والتقنيات الحديثة لتعزيز القدرات على التكيف مع تغير المناخ وبناء مستقبل أكثر مرونة للمنطقة. هكذا تواصل فعاليات جوائز الإيغاد هنا في أديس أبابا وسط اهتمام كبير بقصص المناخ والصمود وبجهود الإعلاميين في نقل واقع المنطقة إلى العالم. للمزيد عن المعلومات عن جوائز الإيغاد تابعونا في POA عربي نبض إفريقيا.
We've been bringing you the coverage from our studio and from Skylight Hotel in Addis Ababa, which ends right now, and in the afternoon we commence. Until then, goodbye.
مشاهدينا الكرام، نتابع معكم ونرصد معا فعاليات حفل جوائز الإيغاد من العاصمة الإثيوبية أديس أبابا، فلا تذهبوا بعيدا وابقوا معنا.
This is Africa, the cradle of humanity, the frontier of the future, a land of visionaries, creators and pioneers, a continent of unstoppable energy where innovation meets tradition, where voices rise, loud and fearless.
I am an African.
This is the heartbeat of a billion people, diverse, bold, united by a single purpose to tell our own stories in our own way. No borders, no barriers, no filters. A new era of African storytelling is here. From every corner of the continent, from the bustling cities to the quiet village, we tell Africa's story by Africans for the world. This is the land of a rising Africa, where Africa speaks and the world listens. This is why today we bring you POA, Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.